Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for tuning in. If you are new here, my name is Maria and this is A Journey of Faith with Maria T. So if you're new to this channel and you haven't already, then please do subscribe and also click on that notification bell so that you are notified every single time that I drop a new video. So let's get right into today's video, guys. In today's video, I'm going to be speaking about building and maintaining healthy friendships. So this was actually a requested video. One of my subscribers requested that I do a video on friendships. So I thought, why not? Let me talk about building and maintaining healthy friendships, because this is definitely something that I've been learning much more about. So I thought that I would come on here and just share with you guys some of the things that I've been learning, so hopefully they can help you in your friendships too. So I'm going to be sharing 5 tips, 5 ways on how we can build and maintain healthy friendships. And yeah, I would appreciate if you guys also share some of your tips as well below in the comment section, so that I can learn too and that others can learn as well. So the first thing that I would say when it comes to building and maintaining healthy friendships is communication. Now this is probably obvious, because as we always know, people always say communication is key. But I think communication goes beyond just knowing that communication is key. Realizing that communication is not just speaking, not just talking, but the way you actually speak. So a lot of the time we think that we just need to come and yes, I just need to talk, but the way you actually speak communicates a lot. Even our body language, guys, communicates a lot. So communicating with our friends, maybe when something's gone wrong, maybe when we're not happy with something, maybe when they've offended us, is so key. And another thing when it comes to communication is not just talking. Communication is also listening. And unfortunately, a lot of us actually listen in order to respond rather than listen in order to actually understand. So taking those kind of tips when it comes to communication is very, very key. It's something that I'm taking on, and it's something that you can take on as well. So when your friend next offends you, don't wait until years down the line to come and tell them that they've offended you. If you can, tell them there and there, or use wisdom and tell them at an appropriate time in order to avoid any future issues. Because this is what we do, guys. We leave things off and we basically don't say anything. And then maybe years down the line, we then come and tell our friend that they've offended us. And most of the time, they don't even remember that they've offended us. So kind of communicating as soon as we can is so important, because what we do as well is that we will go to speak to Sister A about Sister B when we could have just gone to Sister B directly. So that's the number 1 tip that I would say when it comes to building and maintaining healthy friendships, is communicating with your friends. When they've done something wrong, even when they've done something right, just communicating with them and giving them the understanding of where you are in that friendship. Kind of in line with that is also kind of understanding. So the number 2 thing I would say when it comes to kind of building and maintaining healthy friendships is to understand your friend's love language. Now, I know you're probably thinking, love language, like what's my love language got to do with my friends? Because a lot of the time when we hear about love languages, it's usually in relation to obviously a spousal relationship, a relationship with the opposite sex. So it's not usually something we think about in terms of friendships. But I think it's so important to understand what your friend's love language is, because then you could be showing them love in a way that they don't even receive it. So one thing that I even had to do was kind of just speak to my friends and just find out what their love language is, just to make sure that I'm loving them in the right way, and to also let them know what my love language is. Because what's the point of, you know, maybe giving gifts to someone, but their love language is quality time? So understanding your friend is also another way to be able to communicate with them in the right way. So number 2 is understanding your friend's love language. And we know, we all hear about the 5 love languages, which I'll put on the screen somewhere, but I genuinely feel like love languages is not limited to those 5, but obviously we usually use that in order to just kind of understand where we are when it comes to receiving love. So if you don't know your friend's love language, then maybe it's the time to just understand how your friend likes to be loved in order to just continue to build and maintain that healthy friendship. And then number 3, when it comes to building and maintaining healthy friendships, is understand that it's a relationship, which involves 2 people, not one person pouring into the other person and the other person is taking. No, it's a two-way thing. And I think sometimes we can find ourselves in relationships or friendships where we're the one that is constantly pouring out and the other person is not giving. And then you kind of realize that you're in a place where you feel drained and you feel that you just don't feel like you can pour out anymore because they've taken everything that you have. So obviously that's toxic. When we find ourselves in that place where we feel like we're constantly giving and we're not receiving, then it kind of goes back to that communication point that I said at point 1. Obviously, if you value that friendship and it's something that you want to continue, then you would want to basically be intentional in building it. So kind of communicating as well, I think, is very important. Even like, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that I feel like I'm constantly giving and I'm not really receiving. Obviously not in a selfish way to make it about yourself, no, but just in a way so that you're both healthy, right? Because if there's like a bowl, guys, and only one person is pouring into this bowl and the other person is just taking from it and they're not pouring in, then this person is obviously eventually going to be drained and empty while this person is going to be full. So it's very important that we both pour in, or if you're in that friendship that you're trying to obviously build and maintain, then it's important that both parties are pouring in. And for me personally, I feel like that makes a very healthy relationship. And yeah, it's not just one person pouring. So number 4 is kind of linked to number 3 in terms of obviously realizing that it's a two-way thing, which is boundaries. And again, this is something that we don't speak about enough, I don't think, when it comes to friendships. We speak about it in the relationships and we talk about how we need to have boundaries in place, but we also need to have boundaries in place when it comes to our friendships. Now, when I'm talking about friendships, guys, please understand that I'm talking about friendships kind of like all rounded. So it could be your friendship with your girls, your friendship with your boys, or it could be friendship with the opposite sex, or it could even be friendship in your marriage. So you and your husband, you and your wife. So I truly believe that putting boundaries in place with your friends is very important. So even going back to kind of the scenario that I spoke about when it comes to someone that is constantly giving and then the other person is constantly taking, having those boundaries in place is so important, because if those boundaries are not in place, that person will keep on taking because you're giving, and then you will just end up being drained and being burnt out. Like I genuinely believe that when it comes to friendships, that depending on the friendships, there might be different access levels. Some people, maybe one friend has more access than another friend, so maybe that friend will have more access by coming into your bedroom. So just an example in terms of the fact that we need to understand those access levels as well when it comes to boundaries. Understanding the level of access that each person in your friendship group has, or each one of your friends has, and kind of sticking with that and communicating that, because that's another thing as well that we don't do enough, guys. We don't communicate our boundaries. You can't be having a boundary in your own mind and the other person is not aware of that boundary. I think when it comes to friendships, communication of that boundary is important, because for example, some people don't pick up the phone after 10 o'clock, for example. But if that person is constantly calling you after 10 o'clock and you're not responding to their phone call, it's going to look like you're basically being disrespectful to them, or it might look like you don't love them in that way. But communicating that boundary, that please do not call me after 10 o'clock, okay, might be a way of just making sure that that boundary is in place. Yeah, and just so that everyone's kind of aware of those boundaries that are in place. And then the 5th and final thing would be prayer. So prayer, along with all of the other practical things that I've spoken about as well, is very important, because I feel like sometimes as well, we don't pray for our friendships. We don't even sometimes pray for the friends that we should have. I think it's so important for us to pray that who are the friends that I should have in this life, God, like, and even when we get those friends, to pray for those friendships, because unfortunately some people just don't like good things, and some people will actually try to break down what looks like healthy. So praying for your friendships, also praying for wisdom when it comes to your friendships as well, is very important, because we're all humans, and let's just be real, we will all offend each other. So your friend might offend you, you might offend your friend, but praying for wisdom on how to actually deal with conflict, praying for wisdom on how to actually deal with confrontation, praying for wisdom for actually how to deal with, yeah, even maybe if your friend is going through a rough time, how to handle that. That's also something that we don't speak about, because sometimes life happens. So being able to understand kind of like how to deal with that is very important as well. And then the last one, I know I said that number 5 was the last one, but this is a bonus one. If you've actually watched all the way to this part, then this is a bonus just for you, okay? And this is to work on yourself, because very often we always focus on the other person, and we're always thinking about how we can change the other person, how we can make the other person better. But the reality is that you cannot change somebody else. However, you can work on yourself through obviously the help of God. So working on yourself, I think, is a very, very good way in order to be a good friend so that your friendships can be better, because the better you are, the better you can be for your friendships. The more you pour into yourself, the more you can pour out for your friendships. And there's a scripture that says that he who is a friend must himself also be friendly. So some of us, let's just be real, we need to work on our character. Yes, I know I'm coming for some of y'all's edges. Some of us need to actually work on our attitude, because we want other people to be better friends, but are we actually good friends ourselves? So I think this is also another key point when it comes to building and maintaining healthy friendships, to look at yourself. No, don't just look at the other person and look at how the other person is rubbish, or how the other person can become better, or how the other person is, also just look at yourself and see how you can also do better. And I genuinely feel that when we have friends that are doing better, I don't know how to explain it, but when your friend is doing certain things that is right, it makes you want to do right as well. Like, I genuinely have some friends that actually make me want to be a better friend, and it makes me look at myself and just feel like, oh my gosh, like, am I even a good friend? So working on yourself is so important. Understanding that when you kind of like take that time to work on yourself, then it's even easier for you to correct your friends in love, because that's another thing that we need to just quickly touch upon, that when you're obviously in a friendship, you should be able to correct your friend in love. Because if you're not able to correct your friend in love, then I will question how healthy that friendship is. Because imagine your friend is constantly doing certain things and you're not even able to just correct them. I would question, do you even love them? But anyway, putting that aside, going back to the point of working on yourself and realizing that, as the scripture says, that you need to take that log out of your eye before you now try and take the speck out of your brother's eye. We're too quick to try and take the speck out of our friend's eye, but the log that is in our own eye, we haven't even taken that out. So looking at ourselves and realizing that, do you know what, I've got this to work on. I need to do this when it comes to my character. I need to do this in terms of this and that, so that I can be a better friend as well. That doesn't obviously take away from the fact that some people might not be good friends, but you becoming a better friend as well can also help with building and maintaining those healthy friendships. And I'm just going to end with this, guys. Remember, in life, some people come into your life for a reason, some people come in for a season. So I think it's so important as well to understand that not everyone's going to be in your life forever, unfortunately. Sometimes it comes to a point where some people will have to come off that ship of the friendship, and sometimes it just has to get to that point where we just have to realize that and let go, and then realize that when it's time for another person maybe to come on the ship as well, it's important for us to be able to discern that. So when we're doing life, yes, you might be walking with some people, and you might be rubbing shoulders with some people, because there's some people that you can rub shoulders with, but there's other people that you will actually be locking arms with, and the people that you lock arms with are the people that you are doing life with. And it's very important that the people that you are locking arms with and doing life with, that they are the right people. Because imagine you are walking together locking arms, and one person wants to go right and the other person wants to go left. There's going to be confusion. Can two people walk together if they do not agree? No. So basically realizing that the people that you are doing life with, just make sure that basically, there's that sort of, at least physically, mentally, spiritually as well, that like you kind of got that same mindset, because then it will get to a point as well where it will become a bit difficult for that relationship to be maintained. And sometimes as well, we actually have to look at our friendships and look at what was the foundation of that friendship, because some of our friendships started off a bit wrong, and if that foundation is cracked, eventually those cracks will be able to show, and it'll be very hard to maintain and even build in that friendship because the foundation wasn't even right in the first place. And also another thing as well is that image that we also always hear about, someone standing on the chair and then someone standing below on the chair, and the person at the top and the person at the bottom holding hands. And if the person at the top is pulling and the person at the bottom is also pulling, it's more easy for the person at the top to fall down than the person obviously at the bottom to come up. So also realizing that as well, that listen, obviously again, like I said, who you do life with is very important, and it's very easy for people to pull other people down than for you to pull others up. So that's all for today's video, guys. I hope that it's been a blessing. It's been a bit of a chit chat one, but I hope that it's helped somebody, and I hope that it's kind of got you to that place where you're like, do you know what? I want to do better in my friendships. I want to maintain healthy friendships. I want to have healthy friendships. We can all have it by the grace of God. And I just feel like it takes more intentionality. When we were growing up, obviously, it was much easier to kind of maintain friendships. Whereas now that everyone's busy with life, we have to be more intentional. So be intentional with your friendships, and also let's just kind of pray for godly friendships, because it just really helps in walking in this life. If you haven't already, please do like, share and subscribe, and also comment in the comment section which of the points you were able to kind of relate to the most, and I will see you guys in my next video by the grace of God. Peace out and God bless. Love you guys.